Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that, but don't fret. We've got you covered. This is CinemAddicts.
Hey everyone, what's up? It's a new week of CinemAddicts. This is CinemAddicts episode 346. Me, Eric, and Bruce, we're covering movies coming out the week of Friday, May 29th, 2026. I apologize. It's late this week. We're running a little bit late because me, Bruce, and Eric, we're doing Patreon. We're covering a lot of movies. We're doing a lot of stuff. So I apologize that this is coming to you possibly late Friday for the movies that are coming out or are out today. But on top of that, there are movies that are coming. There's one movie called Speed Demon, which comes out May 31st. So in a weird way, it's been a weird week. Movies we're covering include The Currents, Speed Demon, Arkansas. That's Bruce Purkey does an assigned pick from Stephen Schrock, Patreon member. And we also do an Arkansas review on our Patreon, but Bruce is doing the Arkansas review for this episode. Yes. And finally, Tuner. There's a movie called Tuner, which is very interesting. Let's see if Eric Holmes and I really love that movie. Also, Bruce Purkey saw it. Again, The Currents, Speed Demon, Arkansas, Tuner, and there's a documentary called What, Eric Holmes? What, Eric Holmes, is that documentary called?
Oh, what's the story Wishbone? Documentary about the making of the TV show Wishbone.
Okay. Eric Holmes will have a review of that documentary as well. And I'm going to stop my fake wannabe radio voice right now for a little bit of earnestness and reality. Eric Holmes, you have a couple things to say about a very special friend of ours. I hate to say friend of the show, just friend, period, a supporter and a wonderful person. Can you leave?
I mean, there was a world where he could have been part of the show. That was a thing that might have happened. The short version is William Lindus. He had cancer and it finally took him. You'll hear Bruce today. When he recorded that, he didn't know at the time. So I'm sure he'll say some more about him next week. And I think we're going to try to maybe put together a special episode or something. Because William Lindus, who's a big part of the Cinem-Attic group, those that are fans of the Movie Bear podcast, Andrew Martin is the one that turned me on to him. I was just out visiting and he's like, hey, there's this thing called Movie Bears podcast. And I'm like, yeah, I'll check it out. Listen to it. Loved them. And then when Bruce wanted to start Movie Mainline, I think William Lindus was initially one of the first. It was me, you, Bruce, Louis Lacal, and William Lindus. But then William Lindus had, I think he backed off a bit because he was doing the Movie Bears podcast, and I don't think he wanted to. I don't know exactly why, but I think that might have had something to do with it, which is fair enough. And Movie Bears podcast is a great podcast anyway. Yes. Yeah, but that didn't stop us from being friends with them and still doing stuff with them. In fact, we met Matty Doe through William Lindus, and we got to do that long interview with Matty Doe. It was me, Bruce, Matty Doe, William Lindus. There was a thing we did with William Lindus and Andrew Martin. We did mention this on the Patreon as well. With Pete Abeyta, we did a kind of playthrough of the Green Knight. When that Green Knight RPG came out, William Lindus was the GM in that. And I think other than movies and music, he also seemed to like gaming in that respect, as I do too. And I got to meet him up in Denver, meet him in the flesh. I'm happy to say that my last interaction with him in person before I left was just a bunch of warm hugs and love meeting you. And it was, I was hoping that at some point we might be able to meet in person again. But if that was the last time we were to meet, which it is, it was a really nice way to be a last time to see someone, I suppose. It sucks that William Lindus he's just a wonderful human. And knowing that he had cancer, I wouldn't say it was a complete shock that he died, but it was still one of those things where it's like, oh man, right. People beat it sometimes. Maybe William's going to beat it this time, but he didn't. He succumbed to it. But I mean, there's a ton of people that love him, and with good reasons. Yeah. He's just a great guy, and we're going to miss him. Hopefully we'll do something. We'll have a special episode just for him coming up soon. Not quite sure what that's going to be yet because we just found out today, but he certainly deserves it. William Lindus is the best of us.
Yeah, definitely William Lindus is the best of us. Bruce Purkey and Eric Holmes, in all fairness, got to know William a lot better than I did, but from afar, I was really a fan of William as a person and as a fellow cinephile. He's one, when Eric said he's the best of us, on a more very self-centered note, he really was the best for me as far as cinephiles go. Whenever I think I love movies and I'm passionate about movies over the years, I would just look at William's post and realize, well, I think I'm really good at movies or love movies. That's the standard. William is the standard as far as loving movies with a purity of soul and intent. And I always looked at him as my North Star as far as just cinephiles. I think just on that, of course, that's one little part of who William was. And in my opinion is, I think a lot of people who've left this world, I still think of them as next to me. So I will always have William's influence. And I really regret and I'm jealous that Eric was able to spend such quality time with William. And I'm sure he's touched so many lives, including mine on a peripheral level. We love you, William, and we will do a special episode on Cinem-Attic. I was thinking we could look at maybe William's Letterboxd profile, or hit up his family, ask what are some of his favorite movies, or maybe favorite underrated gems, and we'll review them on Cinem-Attic. And hopefully we'll give them all 6.9 stars. That would be great.
Yeah,
definitely.
Even if they all suck, they're all 6.9s.
It's one of those things though with William. Whenever he said a movie's good, and I don't think I've ever disagreed with him. It's one of those things whereas when you and I say something's really good, well, we go, I don't know, should we trust Eric and Greg because they have these weird tastes? But William always had this very interesting stuff. So I am so excited to see what William Lindus movies we're going to cover down the road.
Well, he always came with things subjective. I try to do that as well. If he didn't like something, it's like he was always like, not for me.
Exactly.
Unless it's something just completely egregious, it's usually this wasn't for me and this is why it didn't work for me. But if someone else liked something that he didn't like, he wasn't like, well, you're stupid, blah, blah. That's just not the guy he was at all.
Yeah. And I think one of the things when I started Cinem-Attic with Anderson back in 2015, over the years, Anderson, I know he's not a huge fan of social media, neither am I. But I think for me personally, the best part of Cinem-Attic has been to befriend fellow cinephiles who really love movies, to the point where movies intrude upon their life. I mean, we only have 24 hours a day, Eric, right? But all of us, especially William at the top, he led such a full life. But on top of that, he still loved movies. So no matter what, we know a part of William's day would have to be devoted to, would be eaten up watching movies. And I think that's something that I selfishly gravitated towards with our Cinem-Attic family. No matter, Eric right now should be probably sleeping and doing work or just resting before he's working. But no, he's doing this podcast because he loves movies. And that's why I'm so glad that I've gotten to know really wonderful people.
I absolutely abhor movies. I hate them. I just do it like you guys.
Oh, well, that's a big plot twist. But it's not a twist that William Lindus really loved movies. And whenever I felt like covering movies on a weekly basis, I'm so sick. Can I just watch a Kurosawa film or play video games? But then I'd see something by William Lindus, a post about a movie he loved and whatnot. And I'd focus right back into movie love. Again, that's just a little part of William Lindus. We love you, William. Rest in peace. Rest easy. Love to you and your family. And I'm sure Bruce Purkey will be saying a bunch more on William down the road. Not, again, like Eric said, not on this podcast.
It doesn't make this any less sad, but I think with someone like William Lindus, one of the silver linings you have is that there's so many episodes of Movie Bears podcasts.
Right.
So at least it's a little something that even though he's gone, a little part of him still here with us that we can go back and look at. And it's a infinitesimally small consolation prize because I'd much rather have him here on Earth. But when something like that happens, it's always nice that there's something that you can go back and help remember someone. Especially with me, the older I get, the worse my memory gets. So it's always good to have something to go back to and go, oh yeah, that was a cool guy I knew. That was my friend. I miss him. Go check out the Movie Bears podcast. And if you don't know William Lindus, perfect excuse. Go back and watch the Movie Bears podcast, and then you'll fall in love with them and know why we're so sad.
Yes, you can give a listen to moviebearspodcast.com. I'll leave a link on the show notes. And I don't know. There was no transition from our love from William Lindus to, hey Eric, let's review Speed Demon now. It's one of
I mean, he kind of did it.
yeah. How dare I do something stupid like that? Because I'm stupid. But let's in all seriousness, there is a movie called Speed Demon. It hits theaters and on digital and on demand May 31st. So it's not a May 29th film. It stars William H. Macy and Katie Cassidy. And I'm not even going to look at the Google Doc. Katie Cassidy, she plays a nun. William H. Macy is her superior. He is a priest. They're on a train. There's a possible demon on the train. The train is speeding and it might not have brakes. So that's why you have the title Speed Demon. Train out of control. It could crash. There's a demon whose presence might infect, and take over a bunch of the people on the passenger train. But hopefully saving the day will be these two people of the cloth, Eric Holmes, played by Katie Cassidy again and William H. Macy. That is Speed Demon, directed by John Keyes. 96 minutes, unrated. The plot sounds cockamamie, ridiculous, dumb, but it could be a guilty pleasure, dumb, fun. Eric Holmes, Speed Demon, did this movie work for you? Obviously, take into consideration, me and Eric Holmes interviewed John Keyes, but we still stay professional. So Eric Holmes, your thoughts on Speed Demon?
I'm not going to be professional. I'm going to say right off the top, 3-star banger across the board on this one. And like when I talked with the director, I brought up that like the only thing this thing was missing was the Crypt Keeper at the beginning and end of this movie. Sure. He's like, oh, they knew, got it. So I'm like, oh, sweet. They knew that this movie's campy. It's fun. It gets intense sometimes. It rides that line. It's doesn't take itself too seriously, but
it's not an Ingmar Bergman film. It's not something like Sentimental Value. You're not going to get that.
No, but also there's some danger with the characters in there. You got, well, I mean, you open up the opening of this movie. I thought we were going to watch something like completely different than what it was.
Of course,
sister Katie Cassidy, she gets up, she's naked. There's like there's a bunch of cocaine and stuff on the table. And then she gets up, like puts on her habit and walks out, and 2 bodies like laying in the bed. I thought I'm not sure if they were asleep and she just got up from a party or if they were dead. I wasn't quite sure what was going on. Mm-hmm. But either way, you find out that she's like a nun. And then her and William H. Macy are on this train. William H. Macy's like the father of Novak. And he's talking to her about kind of her addiction issues, and he had so much potential and all this, and he disappoint me constantly, so I don't know what else to do with you. And then so as they're on the, and by the way, William H. Macy in this movie does not make sense at all. Like, I'm glad he's in it and his character makes sense, but like this doesn't, when you watch this movie, you think, oh, William H. Macy's in this movie, it must be this movie. And as it starts off, it seems like it might be going that route. But then where the movie goes, you're like, wait a second. Why is William H. Macy in this? Like, this seems like something Brad Dourif or something should be in.
Oh, very good. Yeah. This is not a David Mamet movie. Why is William H. Macy?
Yeah, exactly. But then, yeah, once the demon stuff starts coming out and then sort of and it's not quite as ridiculous as Snakes on a Plane. As much as I love Snakes on a Plane, it doesn't quite go that far in the camp. It brings it back sometimes because it does get dark at times, but it never goes too far that way either. This movie always has that balance, which is why I give it a 3-star banger right off the top, because this is just a fun horror movie that you can kind of sink your teeth into a little bit. A lot of the effects in this, some practical, some CGI, but always effective, I think.
For the budget that they were given, it looks good. I mean, you just got to give props because
I would take a step beyond that. For the budget they're giving, it looks fantastic. I think John Keyes, the director, must have had a pretty clear vision of what they were doing based on what the budget they had. Because sometimes it's like, oh, we got to get this shot, we got to do this, we want this effect, and then the money starts dwindling down, and you don't have the money to do all those effects effectively. And so they start looking cheap, there's some stuff in this that definitely look cheap, but for the most part, I think a lot of it works, and a lot of it works really well. And I think that has to do with the focus on, these are the effects we want. These are the ones we want to spend time on. And if we can't do it right, we're just going to throw it out altogether. Yeah, it looked great.
Katie Cassidy's good as a lead. She has to carry this movie. Also, we want to mention there's a whole bunch of other actors because there's train passengers. So there's little mini, really complex subplots, but the supporting characters, the passengers who possibly help within the eradication or fighting the demon, they are a good supporting cast that help the nun and the priest battle this demon while the train's going crazy. But they're good too. And you get invested, at least I got invested in their little stories as well.
Also with the other actors in this, because they have that, there's something off with the acting, but it's the same with all the actors. If you're in an ensemble and everyone's acting a certain way, but someone in particular is off, you'd be like, oh, maybe they're not a good actor or their performance wasn't great. But this was a situation where everyone was off in a very similar way. Almost like they're all right, we're all going to do this. Maybe hamming it up a bit. Or like, I just feel that everyone was on the same page when they were making this.
Yeah, it looked like a fun movie to make, but obviously there's a lot of work involved. Yeah. And it was a fun movie for me to watch. Speed Demon, for me, I'm giving it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Eric is giving it a 3-star banger, which is an elevation. 3-star banger means, of course, it really elevates the genre. And if you are a fan of this genre, which is speeding trains, if you enjoyed demons,
Demon Knight, if you enjoyed Bordello of Blood, this will be right up your alley.
All right. Yeah. 3-star banger from Eric Holmes and 3.5 stars for me for Speed Demon. Again, 96 minutes.
If you hated Demon Knight, if you hated Bordello of Blood, skip this one.
Eric is making it clear, folks. Okay. Don't say he didn't warn you or helped you out on this movie. Speed Demon in theaters, digital, and on demand, May 31st. Next up, Eric Holmes. Have you ever tuned a piano? Have you ever played a piano? Do you like pianos? Are you a guitar guy?
No, yes, and I guess so.
You guess so. There's a movie called Tuner, and it's getting a lot of buzz. Very good, Eric. Tuner, it's Academy Award-winning director Daniel Rohr's first narrative feature. Actor Leo Woodall, he plays a gifted young piano tuner whose heightened sense of hearing draws the attention of criminals who see his talents as useful for opening safes as well as for tuning Steinways. Also, his mentor, I forgot the name of can you look up Leo Woodall's character in Tuner? What is his name? But he is Nicky, right? Nicky?
Yep.
No. So Nicky, played by Leo Woodall, he has a hearing problem. When there is a lot of noise on the street, it's just like a hammer to the head, and he gets hurt. It hurts him. So that's why
he's extremely sensitive to sound. To where he's constantly wearing earplugs and then
big headphones
things on top of that.
Yeah, noise canceling headphones when he's going out into the New York street that's set in New York. Okay, so it's hard for him to even exist in New York when the sounds of the street and the noise get to him. That's why.
Yeah, if like a siren goes by, he's just got to cover his ears. Otherwise, he starts getting like
forget it.
It'd be like someone screaming in your head. It'd just be like that's all you can concentrate on that.
And it becomes for him. It's like a kick in the stomach. And he's keeled over, right? So noise is his biggest curse. But as we learned from the beginning of the movie, it's interesting because, Nicky, he is also a former talented piano prodigy. When he was a kid, he was a prodigy, all right? And he comes from a line of a family, and you can tell he's been growing up in a world of sounds and music. So a former piano prodigy who's now working as a piano tuner. His boss is Harry Horowitz.
Perfect pitch, which helps him with that.
Perfect pitch, yes. And his boss is Harry Horowitz, played by Oscar winner Dustin Hoffman. And the opening of the movie is you see Harry Horowitz and Nicky going from home to home and on a normal day in New York, just tuning pianos for the rich folk. That's how they make their money. Unfortunately, Harry and Nicky, they don't make a lot of money, even though they're tuning. They're trying to scrape bucks, rub a couple of nickels together. And the unfortunate thing is Harry, his health is not so good. He possibly has medical debts. Now, at the beginning of this plot summary, the young piano tuner, Nicky, along with having that sensitive thing with sound, he can, due to that sensitive hearing of sound, he can open up safes, and he becomes embroiled within a criminal organization, just a bunch of criminals led by a ringleader. I forgot the name of the ringleader, but he starts opening safes for these people so he can get money out. And yeah, Eric.
Do we want to say how he ran into them?
Oh yeah, and then Nicky runs into these criminals one night trying to tune a piano at a rich person's house, and then he goes up to them on the upper stairs, and he accosts them and says, "Hey, you guys are basically bothering me." He's thinking that these guys are a bunch of security guys, but little does he know is they're not just security guys; they are criminals. They're trying to open up a safe, and when he opens up the safe, the head of the yes, go ahead.
Just real quick, 'cause this thing was so good. He's like, "What are you guys doing?" It's like, "We got to do security. We got to open the safe." It's like, "Why don't you just use the key?" And it's like, "Shut up." It's like, "Here, look, I got." And then he does the thing with his ears, trying to open the safe. He gets it open. He's like, "All right, now all y'all, shut the hell up. I got work to do." And then the whole situation was, they're like, "Oh no, we just got caught. We got to deal with this guy." But that guy gives zero F's about anything. He's like, "I just want to tune this," because he was having such trouble just getting the piano, because he showed up on time, and then they have a bunch of people that are making noise. They're like, "Can you come back later?" They give him like $100. He's like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And then so when he gets back, and now there's people breaking into whatever, he's like, "I don't care. Just be quiet. That's all I want." I do.
Just be quiet.
You guys could be throwing babies in blenders for all I care. I do, just as long as it's quiet. I don't care what the hell you guys do. And so that was just a really funny scene.
So yeah, exactly, totally agree. And Nicky, as the story rolls on, he starts working for this criminal organization. He starts bonding with this composition student named Ruthie, played by Havana Rose Liu. And one day he tries to tune a piano within her school, and they have a nice meeting when she realizes that Eric was mentioning the perfect pitch thing. He tells her that he has perfect pitch, and they have a nice little just repartee between them. She's trying to give him notes on the piano, and he's correctly answering all of her questions. So that it's not a meet cute, it's a meet almost dislike, because they have this energy towards each other, and you see how
they're meet cutes. Well, I think most meet cutes are meet dislikes.
Yeah, meet cutes. Yeah, this
like,
meet cute.
Oh, isn't it cute? They don't like each other, but no, maybe they do.
Right, and you see this in the trailer anyway. What happens is eventually they become involved with one another. I believe that's referenced in the trailer. So you have Ruthie as another person who enters the life of Nicky, who ultimately is a very, not insecure, but he is an isolated human being because of the noise that he sees, and it's just him and Harry until this girl and Harry's wife, they're his extended family until that girl Ruthie enters his life as well. Also entering his life again is the aforementioned criminal enterprise that he is embarking upon, making a lot of money. A lot of that money goes to help paying the medical debt of Harry. That's another subplot. But then what happens when Nicky realizes that maybe he doesn't want to do this anymore? Well, you can't just leave a group of criminals, and that is the main challenge behind Tuner. Rated R, 190 minutes, Rotten Tomatoes of 95%. Also stars the professionals Jean Reno. He plays a piano maestro in the film. You get to see him. I'm not going to say where he shows up, but he's also plays a prominent role in the movie. Eric Holmes, what is your thoughts, review, and rating of Tuner?
Yeah, this is a really good one. It's got some comedy to it. It's got some darkness to it. The budding relationship between
Nicky and Ruthie.
Yeah, their kind of relationship, and I loved watching that develop. And then what they did with the relationship once it developed, that also became tied into some of what was going on with Nicky. The ending of this, I'm not going to talk about the ending, other than to say it was very interesting.
Did you like the ending?
I loved the ending. Absolutely loved it. How do I talk about how awesome this ending is? Talking about how awesome this ending is. It's one of those things where it's like, I won't say it.
No, you're going to say it in a couple minutes, because folks, we're going to tack on at the end of the CinemAddicts episode a spoiler, just a very quick spoiler stuff with Eric and I talking about the end of Tuner. But Eric already said the ending is awesome. That's all you need to know right now. But I'm going to tack this part of our recording in a couple moments at the end. So if you want to listen to the Tuner spoiler stuff, just listen to Bruce Purkey over the cinematic, and then you're going to hear our tacked on Tuner ending. Yes, Eric Holmes.
Okay. But yeah, the Dustin Hoffman's character, I don't know, Dustin Hoffman's character, like his character was important, especially to the story of this. his character was the thing that sort of felt out of place in this.
Okay.
Because the movie starts and it's him and Nikki, and so that's setting the tone. So I appreciate it for that. But then once the movie gets going on its own without him, whenever Dustin Hoffman would pop back in, it's like I feel like you don't belong in this movie. Not that it's bad, but I think Dustin Hoffman's kind of in another movie that's not this one. I can't quite put my finger on why. There's something about the way he carries himself or his attitude that just seems to not really mesh well. That's really my only issue with this. It's got some humor. It's got some stuff that goes way sideways.
Bruce will mention this on his review. Bruce was going to mention this on his review. I'm not going to say what it says about the lead actor, Leo Woodall. He is, I think, a star in the making. He can currently be seen, I think, on a TV series or maybe it's a limited series called Vladimir. He co-stars with Rachel Weisz, and he's the co-lead in that movie, I believe, in that series, I believe. I've not seen it. I think it's on Prime Video, so I have no reference, but his star is definitely on the rise. Tooner is definitely going to help his case. He's fantastic, and I'm going to steal one of Bruce's words. He's charismatic as the lead, as Nikki. You lean forward whenever Nikki's on the screen because you want to know more about him, especially because of all the troubles he has. He's just a very magnetic type of character without being overtly charming. He's just because there's a lot of mystery to him, which draws us in, which makes us lean forward, I think, regarding. You like Leo as well as the lead for Tooner?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's stoic, but not boringly so.
Exactly.
Normally, characters in his position are just, I'm the quiet, mysterious type. I don't talk much. He just seems like he seems focused on what it is he wants to do. And then if anyone gets in his way, he just gets annoyed with it. And so it's an interesting way to treat a main character. Because typically in this movie, his character is going to be the least interesting one. And I think he's probably one of the more interesting characters. Not the most interesting, but certainly heads and shoulders more interesting than anyone else or any other character that would normally be in this position in this movie.
Yes. All right. So that is Tooner. Eric Holmes, your rating on Tooner. Wait, actually, let me start first. My rating on Tooner, Eric. I love this movie so much. 4.5 out of 5 stars. Wonderful across the board. So I'm giving it 4.5 out of 5 stars. What about you, Eric?
I think I am in the same part. I'm going to go 4.5. Yeah, 4.5.
Really nice gem. So glad we got the screening link. We did get the screening link a little bit late in the week, but I'm glad we were able to cover this because right now, yeah, we got a couple of days ago. It's one of these things where usually we're recording on a Friday. Sometimes we record on a Thursday. So recording a day later helped us get to Tooner. Hopefully you guys get to check out Tooner. Tell me, Eric, and Bruce what you think of this really wonderful movie. Hit us up on our CinemAddicts Facebook group or email us. All right. That is it for Tooner. Next up, Eric, I think to close the show, we'll have a very quick mini review of what is that documentary. Can you tell us about your documentary that you covered this week?
What's the story Wishbone?
Yes, what's the story Wishbone? It's currently on public television stations as we speak through, I believe, for another week and a half, and then it goes out to Apple TV and various digital platforms. Go ahead, Eric.
So what's the story of Wishbone is, there's this TV series, Wishbone, a kids TV series. They take like old stories and they reimagine them, or they didn't like using the word reimagine, but it's essentially what they're doing because the original stories did not have a dog in it. But Wishbone is typically the protagonist, but not always. There would be like there'd be Frankenstein, but what if Wishbone was one of the characters in Frankenstein? So then they would play that. Robin Hood, but what if Wishbone was one of the characters in Robin Hood? That sort of thing. I'm sure there's some people, I think it was fairly successful when it was out. So there's probably people that are much more familiar with the show than I am. But this is how the show was made, and sort of how here's this show that we have that's very successful, and yet we can't keep going on with it. Well, why not? It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, this is good. A lot of people like it, but it's too expensive. So there's that bit. The people that made this are also the people that worked on the show. And apparently a lot of people that worked on the show love this more than anybody. This was, you talk to people that worked on Wishbone, they talk to, they talk to them now, and they've had a long career and worked on many things. It's like, what's your favorite thing? Oh, Wishbone by far. And so watching like old footage and interviews and stuff, you get a sense of people really love this. They loved working on it. They loved the people that they worked with on it. So there's not like a lot of, and then the dog Wishbone fell into drug addiction, right? There's nothing crazy like that. This is just one of those things where it's a love letter. It's people like, we really enjoyed this. We know the fans really enjoyed this. And here you go. And from someone in my position who, like, I wasn't a fan, like, I was vaguely familiar with Wishbone, but like, I wasn't a fan. I just went into this cold, more or less, with a vague recollection of what Wishbone was. And I fell in love with it too. So it's got that, it's one of those things where it's like, sure, it's a puff piece, but I think I compared it with John Candy, I Like Me. It's like it's puff piece on John Candy. Well, John Candy was a great guy. What else are you going to say? Like sometimes you just want to watch something and feel pretty good about it. If you love something, you can revel in that joy. And then if you're not familiar with it, maybe it pulls more people and then they'll fall in love with it just as much as you are. And I think
So
that's
you really think, you really think that if you go in blind, it's okay. There's a good chance you might end up just really loving this
so
documentary.
if you're going into this looking for the seedy underbelly of the Wishbone production, you're not getting that because that just doesn't exist. What you will get is that you'll get to know the cast and crew and the people that worked on it, and you'll get to understand why they loved it, and maybe that will leech onto you as well, and then maybe the love will, be experienced by you later on, which it worked for me. I don't know if it worked for everyone else, but this is like one of those, just, we call it a puff piece. I'll call it a love letter. Take your pick.
All right. I love it. Love letter. A love letter to Wishbone. What's the story? Wishbone currently on public stations. And we will actually, on our show notes, we will leave a link so where you can get for more information on this documentary, where you can find it and where it's streaming and all that stuff. The official website will be on our show notes. Eric Holmes, your rating on What's the Story, Wishbone?
I was going to say 3 banger, but I changed that to 3 boner, but that's like,
that's a family show, right? Exactly.
I don't like the way that sounds for a kid show. But yeah, this is a 3 banger.
Okay.
Because much like, because like people think like a 3-star banger is like like something like Speed Demon. Oh, it's campy and it's fun, but like it's not serious or whatever. This is a situation where it's like, if what I described to you sounds like something you want to watch and something that might take you in, then this is absolutely a movie you should watch. And if everything I explained to you sounds like, oh God, no, then go with your spirit. You probably wouldn't like this, but I think this would be like you're having a bad day or a bad week, and there's a bunch of negativity, or maybe you just saw like a bunch of like indie porn movies. It's just like bummers. Ah, God, I need a palate cleanser. Put on What's the Story, Wishbone. Oh, the world isn't all doom and gloom. Sometimes it's nice, and that's
that's very cool.
That's where this lies, and I love the movie for that.
All right, so that is the documentary What's the Story, Wishbone, again in public TV stations right now, but then obviously next month it's going to be on various streaming services, digital platforms, and we will give you information on that. I think there's an Apple pre-order link as well. I'll put that on our show notes. That is it for this installment of Cinem-Atticts, I believe. Eric Holmes, you want to say anything before we get to Bruce Purkey over at the Cinem-Attic?
Yeah, I got a couple more interviews for The Furious coming out, and we'll be talking about that movie real soon. I'm not sure. I think Bruce is doing something. Hopefully I'll be able to do it with him, but there's a movie Carolina that we're supposed to think originally we were going to do on this episode, but the embargo's like Monday, so we would have had to push it way too far.
Right.
I'm not sure if I'm going to get with Bruce talking with that, or maybe Bruce will talk about it, put that up Monday, and then we'll talk about it Wednesday. But yeah, it's under embargo. Caroline might, it could suck. Could be the greatest movie ever. We never know. We will never know.
And you'll never know because my stupid DJ Osmo is still doing these stupid things. I hate you, DJ Osmo. Hello,
yeah, this could be the DJ Osmo of movies. We just there's no way to tell.
Just friggin' thing. Let me see.
We'll be talking about that soon. And yeah, Can't say anything about it yet, but get excited.
Get excited. Yeah. Is it? I was going to say, is it better than Dinner in America? You can't answer that.
It is from the same director of Dinner in America. So,
what did you think of Dinner in America?
I also thought that movie had a god awful title.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. And so we'll see what Eric Holmes has to say about this. And I apologize, my video camera really sucks. We're done with this episode right now. But by the way, remember, Eric and I will do some chatting, very quick chatting, several minute chatting on Tuner spoilers, which you will see at the end. You can listen to at the end of this episode. So it is goodbye for now, but check us out later if you want some spoilerific stuff on Tuner. Of course, here's Bruce Purkey over at the Cinem-Attic.
Welcome to the Cinem-Attic, the attic of cinema. Once again, here I am to talk about a weekly set of both screeners and recommended movies that I watched in the last week. This week I have a movie called The Currents. I also have a new movie called Tuner. And no, it's not a tuner bro. Some of you know that, that reference, a stupid meme. I also have Arkansas. And I'll tell you why we're watching Arkansas from 2020. And then I would be talking about Carolina Caroline, except it is embargoed until the 1st. Today is the 29th. What is Carolina Caroline, and why would I be interested in talking about it? It is the latest film directed by Addie Raymer. I never say his name, but he's the guy who directed Dinner in America and Snack Shack, which I never watched Snack Shack. I need to go back and watch that. Dinner in America, and this newest movie directed by him stars Samara Weaving and Kyle Gallner. So you might want to be excited, you might not want to be excited, but I can't tell you yet. All I know is that myself and Eric both will probably do a standalone review for that movie. Now, the reason also I am talking about Arkansas from 2020 is that this month is our Patreon year of 2020, and Arkansas was one of the picks, the pick for the main episode, which is this. And then we also are doing the 40-year-old version. That's a version, like a version of something. 20-year-old version and Vast of Night, which will be in the actual Patreon episode. Now, for many years, at least 2 or 3 years, we've been doing random movies from a particular month. I should say it again. We've been doing random years from the range of 1980 to 2020, and whatever year we pick will be the featured year for our Patreon episode for the pick that month. So this month was 2020. And I had mentioned to Greg that I thought we'd been doing it for quite a while, and maybe we should do a different range for a while. So he agreed. So for a while, at least, if it turns out to be fun, we are going to do a range between 1950 and 1975 and maybe catch some older, odd, and interesting movies that we have never seen from that time span. So I did a random generator right before I logged on here, and the year we've got is 1951. So if you have some favorite movies or some movies you think we really need to see and talk about for next month's Patreon episode, they will be from the year 1951. Okay, along with the movies I mentioned, I will have 2 quick recommendations for you as well if I have time. If I don't, they'll just go by the wayside. All right, let's get on it. First thing I'm going to do is The Currents. The Currents is directed by Milagros Mumenthaler, I believe out of Argentina. We have a bunch of characters here, but the main character is Lena, almost solely in she's almost in every scene, I would say. Lena is played by Isabel Amy Gonzalez Sola. Pedro is her husband, played by Esteban Bigliardi. And then there's a bunch of other people. Honestly, Lena is your main focus of this movie. I'm going to read you the IMDb synopsis. I don't usually do that, but in this case, it might be helpful because it's a very esoteric movie and it might be tough to nail down. It says, during a business trip to Geneva, Lena's impulsive decision leads to perilous consequences. Back in Buenos Aires, she tries to bury her secret, but the dark past she left behind resurfaces to threaten her current life. Now that's a very dramatic synopsis, and it plays out as much more of an artsy slow burn than that synopsis would make you think. So let me give you the basic beginning, the setup here. The setup is you see Lena And all this is also basically filmed in a very moody, very beautiful way. I was really struck by the way this whole movie is staged. And at the beginning, you see her, and she's in Geneva. You don't know that at the time, but it's obvious she's somewhere in Europe. And she's got a brand new award, like one of these glass awards. I wasn't sure exactly what her job was. Even watching the movie, it was hard to figure out. It's actually an art director, something like an art director or a artist or a photographer of models, whatever it is. She's something in the art community. Anyway, she got this little award. She walks out, immediately throws in the trash, and you see her walk around the streets of Geneva. And the way it's filmed and the way the audio is in this movie, it's very evocative. It's like the wind, you're hearing the wind and the natural sounds, and she seems lost in a haze. And at some point she ends up in front of a shop window, and she's looking at this little needlepoint of these women, and there's this old-time sewing machine there. And on the way there, she'd walked over a bridge over one of the rivers there. On the way back, she walks back over the bridge from a long shot, and as she's standing there, you see her nonchalantly climb over the railing and jump in. Smash cut to her being dried off. She's obviously survived the fall, and you will see a flashback of that whole sequence in Geneva later in the movie, by the way. So you get a little more, not only a little more of an idea, like where her mindset was and what she was doing there, but she obviously survived. You don't know why she did it. You don't know why she decided not to keep doing what she was doing, because obviously she's healthy, at least physically now. And then you basically are back in her home in Buenos Aires. And then the rest of the movie is this examination of a woman. I don't say she's in a midlife crisis, or if she's maybe having more of a mental breakdown, or just fighting with mental illness, instability, compulsion, phobia. There's a lot of things going on. What you do find out very quickly, though, is she is very afraid, like hugely anxious when it comes to water, which you find very strange because you just saw her jump into the river. So I guess that would have been a really extreme reaction for herself, because you see things like she won't even take a shower. You see her going to the bathroom at some point, and she's going to go take a shower, and she's just trying to use the sink to wash the edge of her hair, and she is in full panic meltdown, to the point that a little later in the movie, you see her going to a hairdresser to basically just get her hair washed and get a sponge bath, because she can't do it herself, and she has to be given gas to literally knock her out to do it. So as you can guess from this very beginning description of this movie, there's some serious stuff going on with her. She's married. She's very successful. She seems to be living a very, not a wealthy, but definitely upper middle class life. She has a very nice place. Seems like to have a very nice professional job. She seems to have a loving husband, a really cute and loving daughter. Daughters, I don't know. She just seems like she has a loving relationship with everyone around her, but she is disassociating with the world around her. And what makes this movie really tough is that you're with her almost 100% of the time, and you don't get voiceover, you don't get a real window into exactly what she's struggling with and exactly what her issues are and how she's thinking about them now and how she's either coping or not coping with them. All you know is that early incident that we saw of her jumping into the river, she has other thoughts of a similar vein. And at all times in this movie, you're worried that she may be ready to go down that path again. And you see her just like you always see her, almost like she's gonna lose her grip on reality. And you never get too fully subjective. Like, you don't go to the point where you're seeing visions from her, although you go on the edge slightly there. It's more like the whole mood of the movie is almost disassociated, where she may stop and just focus on a painting, or she may focus on the trees blowing in the wind outside the window, and the whole movie kind of falls into that kind of reverie that she's going through, and it makes you think that you're really getting a feel of her mental state. In some points I was thinking this movie is almost like, in almost the way that David Lynch movies are, not as surreal as that, but when you're in a David Lynch movie, it feels very odd, but you always feel like David Lynch knows what he's saying to you and why he's saying it to you, and you just trust that he's there. even if you don't quite get it, you feel like, if I try long enough or I keep watching it, I will get it. I feel like that with this movie. Like, as much as I was frustrated, like not understanding her and not feeling like real, like solid resolution, I always felt like the filmmaker was really in control of what they were showing us and what they were giving us and how they were presenting it to us. I felt like they had a precise vision that they were trying to present to us. Now, does that make it an interesting and satisfying movie? I would say to lots of people, no. Now, if you're into, like I said again, really artistic, with a capital A, slow burn, very atmospheric, very enigmatic sorts of movies, then this could definitely be your cup of tea. I would say I'm halfway there. I would say I enjoyed it enough to recommend it, but I did definitely want more from it. Now, that's not to say if I saw it again, I might get more from it. I want to point out a couple of things. So there's a lot of clues on what's going on with her and what is happening to her towards the end. Is there a resolution? I think there is. I think there's a turn in her character. Why it exactly happens, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to go into spoilers because I don't think I can spoil it because I don't think I quite understand it. But I feel like this is the kind of movie, if I discussed it or watched it more or read more about it, it might unravel in a way that makes it more satisfying to me and make it a higher recommend. At this point, like I said, I'm probably going to go 3.5 stars, which is pretty generous, I think, because I think a lot of people are going to be very frustrated by this movie. Once again, judge what kind of movies you like. And if you like real meat and potatoes movies or real bold and straightforward movies, whatever the form they're coming in, horror or action or even like straightforward drama, this is not going to be for you. But I'm going to go 3.5 stars for The Currents. I will mention one amazing sequence. There's several in this movie, but there's one in the last third, and her daughter and Lena loses track of her daughter because, like I said, she's always disassociating and focusing and losing the world around her. And at one point, her daughter disappears from her workplace, and for probably, I don't know, a minute or so, Lena is freaking out and running around trying to find her daughter. And you're like, oh my gosh, is her daughter going to be lost? Is that going to be the last part of this movie? It turns out that the daughter has just climbed to the top of this building that they're in. And it's a very odd building. I don't know if it's a famous building or a known building in Buenos Aires, but it's essentially, not a dome, but almost like a tower on the top of this building. And at the very top, there's like a light, the rotating light, very much like a lighthouse. But it seems to be in the center of the city, so I don't think it's actually a lighthouse, but it's just like a lighthouse. And they both go up there, and they're looking across at the city. And there's an amazingly beautiful sequence. I would say for movie lovers, this sequence alone makes the movie at least worth recommending to check it out. Because it goes from this very contemplative, quiet, like I said, enigmatic, odd, beautiful movie to this very almost overly romanticized, I wouldn't say it's a dream sequence, but it's like this weird, almost like a flight of fancy or escape a point of view that she's having, where you're all of a sudden seeing all these different moments in the city. And the music itself gets very lush and unusual compared to the rest of the movie. And you're seeing these different moments throughout the city from different points of view. And the light from that building is passing over those scenes as well. And eventually it rests on a certain house. And you find out later what that house is. And I think that's important for the rest of the plot. But this kind of, in some movies it would be a dream sequence. It isn't really a dream sequence, but this just tonally and presentation-wise, totally different sequence in the last third of the movie is really striking. I want to love this movie, and I'm on the verge of loving this movie, but I think I'm, like I said, go 3.5 stars. I did quite enjoy this movie. Okay, let's move on to a movie that I liked even more, and that is a movie called Tuner. Now, Tuner came out of nowhere. Greg had a last-minute screener for this. I think it came out on Tuesday, or maybe it was Wednesday. It came out pretty late for us, and he said it's getting a lot of buzz, and we should check this out. If you get a chance, watch Tuner. And I had a day where I was going to watch one of our Patreon movies, but I thought, I'll watch Tuner instead. Let's check this out. Let's give it a try. Directed by Daniel Roher. I may be saying it wrong. Rohe, I'm not sure. Roher. This stars Leo Woodall as your main character, Nikki. You also have Dustin Hoffman in here, playing his mentor and boss, Harry. You have Havana Rose Liu, Liu. Havana Rose Liu as Ruthie. And then you have some other characters. Yuri, I should probably mention him. He's played by Lior Raz. The basic idea is at the beginning of this, you got Nikki and Harry. Harry's Dustin Hoffman once again. Nikki and Harry basically go out and they tune pianos. So tuner, of course, that's where tuner comes from. And Nikki is Harry's apprentice because Harry's getting older. Harry, can tell, just loves music. He's just a salt of the earth kind of older dude, but you also can tell he's on the verge of his health is failing a little bit. You also get the feeling that maybe he's starting to suffer a little bit from either Alzheimer's or dementia. You're not sure what, but he's definitely forgetting things. But he's a good guy. And he starts to fall in poor health. And Nikki, who seems to love him almost like a dad, it's not his dad. Howard is not his dad, but Nikki does treat him like a dad, like an adopted father almost. And you can tell that Nikki wants to help him any way he can. I mean, there's going to be hospital bills, there's going to be lots of bills. And Nikki's not going to really make enough money doing just piano tuning, although he could make some money doing that he ends up getting involved in some, let's just say, less than reputable business opportunities. Because what you find out very early on is Nikki, not only being a great piano tuner, he almost has this, it's almost like a supernatural ability in the sense that he has this hyper-sensitive hearing to the point that he always has to wear plugs in his ears. And when it gets really bad, like there's a siren or squeaky brakes or something really loud, he has to put on these like the noise-blocking headphone things like you'd get at a gun range. So that also gives him, in a sense, some very sensitive hearing. It's perfect pitch. That's why he does the tuning. But he also finds out very early, because he needs to open the safe that Harry has, because Harry's in bad health, right? And his wife needs to get in their safe to get some stuff out there. And basically, Nikki just goes online and looks up how to crack safes. And using his incredibly sensitive and precise hearing, he is able to figure out, almost as a novice, he's able to open the safe. And on one of his tuning jobs, he's tuning for this guy I'd mentioned before, named Yuri. There's this kind of, I don't know where he's from. I don't know if he's from Armenia or where he's from. Did they say Armenia? I don't think they said. Wherever he's from, he looks to be, I don't know, he seems to be a little sketchy, and he's got some sketchy dudes hanging out with him at this very rich house. He, of course, Nikki's always going to rich houses because all these rich houses have pianos that always go out of tune. Even if they don't play them, they always have pianos. And while he's there, he hears this terrible racket. And you got to remember, it's super sensitive hearing. He hears, I don't know, like a leaf blower. He's going to be in pain. He's going to try to avoid that and try to stop that. He's there to tune this piano, and he's hearing this terrible racket. And he goes upstairs, and Yuri and these other guys are sitting there with an overturned safe, and they're just drilling it. And he was like, just stop the noise. And of course, he's like, what are you doing? And they're like angry at him. Like, you think we're criminals? No, we're not criminals. We're supposed to open the safe for this guy. And it's a flimsy story, but also they guilt Nikki into thinking that I'm accusing people wrongly. And essentially, to ease the noise, he just opens the safe for them. And of course, immediately Yuri looks at him and gives him his card and says, if you ever want better money, come and find me. Because he's like, this Nikki guy he's a savant when it comes to safe cracking. I think I might have a guy here. So that kind of sets up the scene, right? Now you got the basic setup here. You got this kind of young apprentice piano tuner, and also apparently a prodigy when it comes to safe cracking. And will he get into possibly slowly into a life of crime, cracking safes for some unsavory people to help pay his own bills as well as the bills of his beloved mentor Harry, sorry. Yes, that's what's going to happen. It's a fun movie. It's a just solid all-around entertainment. If you say, I'm going to have this movie about a piano tuner that's also a safe cracker, you're like, well, that's preposterous, but it's balanced in such a really great way. And part of it is because I think the main character of Nikki, I'm going to have to say Dustin Hoffman's a likable character, but the main character of Nikki, and then his eventual love interest of Ruthie, and she is a composer that he meets on one of his jobs, and she's just an amazing, interesting person, and he, of course, falls for her. That kind of trio of Yuri the bad dude, Nikki the young, safe-cracking prodigy tuner, and then Ruthie the super intelligent, super talented composer, that trio just really is the lifeblood of this movie. And then it's just got this very engaging kind of setup to have this I don't know how to describe it exactly. It's like I said to offline to Eric and Greg. To me, it's like if you want to mesh some favorite movies together, I think it has aspects of several of them. Has aspects of Sound of Metal. I watch this on my headphones. I always watch movies on my headphones, which I highly advise if you watch movies at home in a way that you can. If you can watch them with headphones, if you're watching them alone, you should watch them with headphones because you really get that immersive experience at home better than the movie theater in a lot of ways, because the movie theater is often the noises around you are really distracting. But in a movie like this that it involves sound itself so highly, it's really effective. It really gets you in that headspace. You feel like you're in his headspace because, of course, they will do things like when really loud noises do impact him, which they do as a plot and tension element in this movie, you get that effect because as the sound either muffles or blazes out into high-pitched, almost a tinnitus kind of a thing, you get that effect in your own head when you have headphones on, which is super effective. In that effect, it was much like Sound of Metal. In some ways, you also have this sort of tense interplay of drama and music happening in this movie, which gave me some Whiplash feel. It's not as intense as Whiplash, don't get me wrong, but there's some elements there that felt a little Whiplash. And then on top of that, you have a bank heisty sort of thing when there's these various safe cracking elements going on. I think this is just cracking entertainment. It's really good. It's one that's going to be very hard to market, but I feel like it will get discovered and become a real favorite of kind of cult. Not even cult. It's not that culty. I would just say movie fans will discover this and it will be quite liked, I have a feeling. I'm going to go 4.5 stars for Tuner. It's a really good movie. It's great. Like I said, there's thrilling moments, there's anxious moments, there's funny moments, fantastic characters. You totally root for the Nikki character. And I don't know Leo Woodall. I don't know him as an actor. He may have been in a bunch of things that I have not seen, but he really has a great charisma here and has that real combination of kind of, I could see him playing like a tough guy, but here he plays like a guy that could be tough, but he's not. He's sensitive and withdrawn and just super likable. So you're always rooting for him, even though he's doing some pretty bad and not cool stuff in this movie. You're always rooting for him, and that's not easy to pull off. He takes a certain kind of, I guess, charisma to have that ability. I could see this guy turning around and becoming, I don't know, I could see this guy being like, I don't know if they have these anymore, but a really great action star. He doesn't do a lot of action in this movie, but he has that something. Whereas all the great action stars, like I'm thinking of like Bruce Willis, and obviously you got Schwarzenegger and Stallone and some of these characters, the ones that really I felt like became stars and action stars to boot, they had that charisma, they had that super likability, and they had the ability to pull off the tough guy stuff. And I feel like this guy could do it. It's weird because I'm saying that, and he doesn't really do anything tough guy in this. He does more he's more almost like a quiet, reserved guy. But I feel like he could do it. Anyway, highly recommend 4.5 stars for Tuner. I really like this movie. Now, the other movie we got this week is 2020's Arkansas. And I did not write down who suggested it. Sorry. I know Greg and Eric are better about that. I am not so good about it. And I don't have the Google Doc in front of me. So, this is directed by Clark Duke. Clark Duke has played in a bunch of things. You've probably seen him as a character actor in a bunch of things. But he also does co-star in this movie as Swin. And he plays alongside Liam Hemsworth as Kyle. And you might think, Liam Hemsworth? Liam Hemsworth is in a movie called Arkansas in 2020. I've never heard of it. Or maybe you have heard of it. I bet you haven't heard of it, though. Along with them, you've got John Malkovich playing Bright. You've got Vince Vaughn playing Frog. And you've got Vivica A. Fox playing Her. You got a bunch of other people, too. But if you notice, look at these names. There's Kyle. Okay, that's a regular old name, Kyle. You also have Swin, Bright, Frog, and Her. What's going on here? It's lots of like code names or something. Okay, well, what is this? This is all about the... well, there's a lot of voiceover in here, too. It's almost like about the subculture of disorganized crime in the South, and specifically in this case in Arkansas. And they make a point early on saying, unlike New York or the mafia, which has a code of conduct and is organized and has a hierarchy, they talk about how the crime groups or gangs or web of crime organized, semi-organized. In the South is much more chaotic and not built on any great codes. So that's the premise here. You've got Kyle and Swin very early on team up, and they're going to basically do a run of a product. And en route, they get stopped by he's supposed to be a park ranger, I think a state park ranger, Bright, played by John Malkovich. They get stopped by him, and you find out very quickly that Bright is part of this loosely organized crime group. And essentially, he just takes over the shipment and tells Swin and Kyle that you're now basically working for me. He gives them this whole little speech about how don't cross me, don't try to leave. You're basically working here forever. Maybe eventually you'll work your way up, but if you do anything bad, we'll just kill you. So essentially you just have to work at this state park and become part of this drug world and maybe eventually work their way up. It's very loosey-goosey. But you get the idea that Bright is probably a little bit dangerous, the way that John Malkovich always does, in a very smarmy, quiet, but menacing fashion. And Frog is the guy who's running the whole thing, and no one knows who Frog is. He's like the secret guy. Although we know, of course, he's Vince Vaughn, because we have the name on the IMDb that says he's Frog. And you find out pretty quickly who he is. Now, what is this movie? This is like a cool, grungy, crime underworld movie, I suppose. There's a lot of comedy here as well. This feels like it's planting one foot in the Coen brothers world and one foot in the Tarantino world. And I think it really wants to be both of those things a lot. And you can tell it wants to be those things a lot for a couple of ways. First of all, it's one of those movies that has like intertitles for different parts of the movie. I didn't even write them down, but there's a bunch of them. We're like in a different segment. It also has time jumps where I think after about a third of the movie, you jump back and you get to see the rise of Frog. And I don't know if they digitally de-aged him. I didn't really look that closely, or Vince Vaughn they just used him and said he was younger. But I had a real hard thing with the time in this movie. I was having a hard time figuring out when the current part of the movie takes place, because it seems modern, but then it seems old-fashioned, because I didn't really see a lot of cell phones. But then the flashbacks we see, I thought they said were in the 80s or maybe the 70s. So once again, I didn't do a lot of research to find out, but it feels like something feels weird about the time. We're definitely, I don't think, not in modern times. We're at least 20 or 25 years before. I don't know, I could be wrong, but it doesn't feel like it's quite there. How does this movie work? Well, the touchstone directors that this is definitely trying to work with are, like I said, are the Coen brothers and Tarantino. Unfortunately, I don't think it has the style of Tarantino or the snappy dialogue. It thinks it has snappy dialogue. It definitely has a lot of moments where Kyle and Swin are talking, and Swin is Clark Duke's character, because I'm the comic relief, but I'm also a philosophizer about the world. And Kyle's kind of I look like a good-looking, tough dude, but I'm also not. I'm a gentle dude, but also I might be dangerous if you cross me, so don't underestimate me kind of dude. And there's a lot of conversations with him about whatever, but it never has that kind of spark that you get in Tarantino dialogue. And on the other side, Coen Brothers movies are always like people in over their heads. Well, not always, but those crime movies that they do, people way over their heads, and this kind of odd combination of like explosive violence and very dark comedy, and sometimes even silly comedy. And this movie tries to go in those ways as well, and it doesn't quite work either. The problem I had mostly with this movie was that it just wasn't very interesting to me. With those kind of movies, you have really colorful characters, and those colorful characters carry the almost MacGuffin-like plots of a lot of times of those movies, where the plots themselves don't matter as much as you're just watching really interesting, colorful characters get into really sticky situations that they have to find their way out of or not get out of. And that's the driving forces of a lot of Coen Brothers and Tarantino movies. Now, in Tarantino movies, you even add in the level of homage, which is constant. He's like a collage person that takes all these bits of other movies and blends them into his own movie to the point that people say he just steals everything. But at least there's like it's a repurposing, almost like an Andy Warhol repurposing that has his own style to it. Whereas here, it's like you feel like this movie likes all those things, but can't do any of those things near as well as either of those people do. So it just becomes this, to me, is this really pale and not very interesting version of things I've seen a million times before. I didn't think any of the characters were very colorful here. Kyle is just a dim bulb. He's not a dim bulb. He's not dumb, but I didn't care about him. He was just very bland. And he's like the main character, I think. Swin was like supposed to be like the comic relief, annoying dude, but you come to love because he's got a heart of gold, but he's also like Swin. He was a swindler or whatever. And I didn't like him at all. And he was like one of my main characters and also the director of this movie. I thought he was just self-consciously annoying. It just seemed like overly overwritten and just not good. And every other character was, once again, similar versions of all those things. Vince Vaughn's supposed to be the quirky yet menacing head of this whole crime thing. And I didn't really care about his story. I didn't see what made him interesting as a main character. He was just supposed to be quirky, I guess, but I didn't really care. Malkovich doesn't stick around long, so I didn't really care about him. And there's just a bunch of stuff like that. And then on top of all that, and I mentioned this to Eric and Greg offline, I guess I won't go into the spoilers per se. No, I'll go into a mild spoiler here. Let's just say my rating on this is 2 stars. If you like all those other kind of movies, you might find this mildly entertaining. You might love this movie. But to me, I was checking out pretty quick on this, and it never really got me back. I didn't really care. I didn't really understand why we were hanging out with them for so long. I didn't understand what we were trying to achieve other than just survival. I didn't care to hang out with the characters, which is really the death knell for a movie like this. All that other stuff could have gone by the wayside. If I loved these characters, I would have just hung out with them and it would have been cool. But I didn't, so it wasn't. Now here's my little spoiler. There's a bunch of things that happen, but towards the end, there is basically a standoff, a life or death standoff. So Swin and Kyle they've been discovered. They've essentially, this whole movie, they've been hiding out and taking over the drug operation from Bright, who earlier on died. And they just buried the body. They buried another body of another person that tried to come and figure out what they were doing. And they essentially have just been running this section of the drug trade in the state park and trying to just fly under Frog's radar. So they can just keep being part of this drug operation, get money, but yet no one knows that they've taken it over. I don't know how that was supposed to work, but somehow they thought they could just do that for a while. And once again, it's just this weird, what? But all that being said, of course, Frog finds out about it, and he does not like the fact that these guys are here, and he actually thinks they're dangerous because he thinks they're dumb, which I would agree. I think they're dumb too. I don't know what they were going to accomplish and how they were going to not get found out. And the fact that Frog thinks they're dangerous because they're so dumb, I could agree with that too. If anything comes out of this movie, that's an interesting idea, that people who are threatening, but in a predictable way, are a little less scary than people who are dumb and likely to do something dangerous because they can't be predicted, and who knows when they're going to cause you harm or death. So I think that's the way that Frog looks at these guys when he discovers what they're up to, is that they are way more dangerous because they're just wingnuts and they don't have any plan or any predictability. So he sets up a hit on them. Frog has these 2 twin older dudes that he got them when they were young, but now they're older, probably in their 40s or maybe early 50s. These 2 twins that he has as his muscle. He sends them out to kill. Kyle and Swin show up at this hot springs bathhouse place. It's this enclosed area with stalls, and each stall has a bath. And when they get there, Kyle and Swin get there, the 2 twins show up and pull out a shotgun on them, right? The guy with the twin with the shotgun takes Swin off to one of the stalls and puts him inside, and you know that things aren't looking good. And then the twin without the shotgun takes Kyle to like a stall like 3 doors down, like the band. I mean, you think about it. It's not a bathroom, but it's like a bathroom. If you have a bathroom with stalls, they're like, 4 or 5 feet wide. So you can imagine that Swin is with a guy, is basically cornered in one of those. A guy is standing there with a shotgun. And then maybe 20 feet away is Kyle, also in one of those bathrooms, and the other twin is in the doorway with his bathroom. And of course, they have one of those "I could kill you right now" moments, but I'm going to talk to you and we're going to have this conversation. And anyway, while they're doing that, Kyle and twin without a shotgun get in a big fight. And Kyle ends up, and while that's happening, you're hearing the gun shoot on the other side. So you're figuring Swin just got killed. So imagine you've got twin brother with a shotgun. He hears his other brother in a fight with Kyle. And Kyle is literally poking out one of the twin brother's eyes. So screaming, scuffling, lots of noise, as you might imagine. A fight ensues. Kyle rolls to the next stall over. Cut to a shot of Kyle walking out of the building unscathed, no one coming behind him, nothing happening. He escapes. He's done. He's out. I couldn't get past that. I know you don't have to be totally logical in action movies and thriller movies. There's going to be leaps of faith and these kind of things. But how does the twin brother with the shotgun not just walk 20 feet down and confront the screaming fighting match where his brother is being blinded? And how does Kyle just somehow just walk out of there unscathed when a guy with a very angry twin brother with a shotgun is right there on his tail? You would think, no, it's just, don't worry about it. Not a big deal. Even though it's the I guess, action climax, dangerous climax of the movie for our two main characters. Anyway, that bugged me very much. I might have even gone to 3 stars in this movie. I probably wouldn't have. Maybe 2.5 stars if it hadn't been for that scene. That scene was just, you couldn't get past it. You've got to explain, if there's a life and death confrontation, basically a showdown at the end of a movie full of criminals, and your main character comes out alive, you got to show how that happened, like how that occurred, or at least have it be reasonable that he could have got out of that. But it wasn't even either of those things. Either way, 2 stars for Arkansas. No, there's many better action crime thrillers out there, like dime a dozen better ones out there, TV series that are better out there. And just go watch any Tarantino or Coen Brothers movie and you're going to do better. Or, and don't do that, go watch, I don't know, Hell and High Water. Go watch, pick one. There's a lot of them. There's tons of them out there. Every year there's many low budget, awesome crime thrillers that are better than this movie. So no, 2 stars. Okay, I'm about to get out of here, but I do have 2 quick recommendations on HBO that I watched this week. One is The Bride. I watched The Bride by Maggie Gyllenhaal, starring Jessie Buckley as the bride. Jessie Buckley, we have to give her all the laudits because she's awesome and everything. Jessie Buckley, Christian Bale as Frank, Peter Skarsgård, Penelope Cruz, Jake Gyllenhaal as Ronnie Reed, and Annette Bening as Dr. Euphronius. I'm not going to go through this whole thing. I'm just going to say quickly, for certain people, this movie is going to just hit. And I'm one of those people. I really quite enjoyed this movie. It's definitely a mess of a movie, but I think it's mostly an intentional mess of a movie. It's a meta movie in the sense that it is a patchwork of a whole bunch of different types of movies and homages and references. And it's literally a Frankenstein of a movie. It's like you took all these different elements and jammed them together and said, I'm going to make this thing and it's going to work. I could see many people thinking this is one of the dumbest things they've ever seen and not working whatsoever. But I just respected the oddball, I guess, balancing or imbalanced presentation of camp and satire and social commentary and cringe. Sometimes it doesn't work at all. Sometimes it works fantastically. And sometimes it's just so audaciously weird and off the wall that I just had to respect it just for that. And it looks beautiful. It doesn't matter if it looks beautiful, though. Do you enjoy the movie? I did enjoy the movie. Did it work? Not really, but it was so much fun to watch not work. It's just crazy. The basic idea of even Mary Shelley's spirit possesses a woman who's in the gangster underworld who is then killed, and then the woman is resuscitated and now has both the original woman's spirit and Mary Shelley's spirit in there. Crazy. Throw that into a movie where they have a song and dance number out of nowhere to Putting on the Ritz, which is an obvious homage to Young Frankenstein. I mean, it's both the most cringy moment I've seen this year in movies, and audacious moment, and I loved it moment. So I don't know I don't know. For me, I can't watch a movie like this and not have a great time. Also, any movie where Christian Bale is out overacted by miles by Jessie Buckley, and when I say overacted, I mean in the best way. This movie calls for you to overact it. It calls for a big personality. And Jessie Buckley doing this schizophrenic thing where she's at one point tough undead gang mall, and on the other point acerbic, like glitching out Mary Shelley possession, is just bonkers and makes no sense and is so much fun to watch. So I say 4 stars. I can't go higher than 4 stars because it is a mess, but it's a really glorious mess. I'm gonna go 4 stars, and I might go higher at some point because I could probably watch this again. I could definitely watch parts of this again, and I would watch this over and over again versus the recent Del Toro Frankenstein. You take Del Toro's beautiful style and production values and paste it onto a generic, just straightforward version of the Frankenstein story, and I am bored. You take the Bride of Frankenstein story and make this absolute crazy pastiche of the Bride, I'm there all day. So I'm 4 stars on the Bride. I know I can't recommend this to most people. Most people are going to watch this and go, what are you talking about? This is just ridiculous. But I also like the Joker Folie à Deux. I liked Annette. So I have a predisposition to like these over-the-top, musical-ish oriented. This is not really a musical, don't get me wrong. There's one sequence in the whole movie. But I like these broad, bold, just in-your-face kind of movies when they really go for it and give you something you haven't seen exactly before. So I like The Bride on HBO Max. And also really quickly, The Yogurt Shop Murders. Now, for anyone who watched this was out last year. It was a four-part crime miniseries. And I know that Joseph Bridges liked it quite a bit. I liked it quite a bit too. A lot of people were annoyed by it because they thought it was overlong and not enough. I think the way to look at it is most of these true crime sort of documentaries and miniseries really focus on the mystery and the crime itself and the particulars of evidence and the gory details and all those kind of things. And sure, some of those things are here in this, but it really focuses on justice and on the fallout of unsolved murder and the fallout of injustice and faulty police work and the crime and punishment system and whether it does or doesn't work. This is a really deep and very frustrating in the right ways and very sobering look at like how everything can go wrong and no one really wins in this kind of very public case of these 4 girls that were murdered in this yogurt shop in Austin, Texas. And what was really interesting about this series, the 4-part series, was that some parts of the mystery or the justice system and the people who were accused, some parts of that gets fully resolved. And then other parts are frustratingly absolutely not resolved in the 4-part miniseries. And you have family members and members of the police justice system who are very frustrated as well from where it ends at the end of the 4-part miniseries. And I think a lot of viewers were in the same boat. I think that they want this to be a story with an ending, not a happy ending, but an ending. And it didn't feel like it had that. So I think a lot of people felt like, well, I wasted my time. Why did I spend, whatever it was, 4.5 hours or whatever doing this when it just left me hanging? Interestingly, in the last couple of weeks, out of nowhere, I didn't know it was coming up, another chapter came out. So there's now a 5th and looks like to be final episode, and it wasn't like it wasn't planned. They were going to be done after the 4. That was the whole thing. The whole Yogurt Shop Murders miniseries was done. But as they were airing it, new evidence and new information came out, like actual important information came out. And now we have this almost a 90-minute final episode, and it's quite something. And it's going to frustrate people in some of the same ways. But I think it's going to help a lot of people who were dissatisfied by the unfinishedness of the first 4. At least there's going to be some closure here. And I think that is the biggest The whole point of this final one that came out is it's really all about closure. And I really love how this whole series overall, it just doesn't neglect the just profound ways and the profound effects that these events have on just so many people, whether it's people in the community, family members, the accused, the police officers. They're all really affected by what happens here. And I think that's the strength of this series. I'm going to go 4.5 stars for the Yogurt Shop Murders. If you're a fan of true crime or really good documentaries, I think you should check it out. It is definitely a time commitment, but I think it's worth it. All right, that's everything I got for this week. Thank you, everybody. I will have Caroline review in a couple days. By the time you get this, it'll be probably out by Monday or Tuesday when the embargo lifts. So we'll have that. I might even put some spoilers in there, but we should get you something there on that soon. And also don't forget, we have our 2020 Patreon episode coming up in a day or two as well. Talk to you soon, and guys.
All right, Eric Holmes, before we get out of here, Tuner, let's talk about the ending or just spoiler talk you want to discuss. I'm going to yield the floor to you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so he gets caught, or he ends up with a stolen watch from one of the jobs they did. He gives to his girlfriend.
Yes.
The guy sees the watch, and she didn't know anything. And then he realizes that, oh no, like,
and
I screwed this up for her.
Right. The guy is the piano maestro played by Jean Reno. Jean Reno is watching the girl. I think her name's Ruthie, playing her. It's not a recital. She's playing her composition, and she's playing for him in a crowd, and the audience loves it. And then when they go to the office, he is going to accept her as his assistant because she's been trying to vie for a position as his assistant, and it's a very hard climb to make, and it looks like she's making the climb. But he sees her watch, and he realizes that her watch could be, like Eric said, a watch that is from his family from the Holocaust, I believe. Eric, go ahead.
I don't know if there was that watch specifically, but certainly the other one that we're about to bring up.
Right.
So, he realizes that he messed this up for his girlfriend, and he wants to make things right. And he's like, look, she didn't know anything about it. I acquired the watch. I gave it to her as a gift, and she had no idea. They're like, well, I guess we got to call the cops in. Because I think he mentioned the other watch. And he's like, hold on, you said something about this watch? And I was like, yeah, I can get that back for you. He was like,
get the other
are
one
you going to do that? He's like, don't worry, I got this. I'll get it back for you. And just gets up and leaves.
Yeah, just don't press charges on me yet. Don't call the cops on me. I'm going to leave, and I'm going to try to get the other watch. And if I get the other watch, please.
No, he didn't say I'm going to try. He said, I'm going to get it.
I'm going to get the watch. Right. And then the piano maestro decides not to call the cops on him, which is very important. Yeah.
And so he ends up getting the watch with all the stuff happens with him and the
criminals.
The criminals he was working with.
They injure him. They injure him at the middle.
The weird thing about that is, like, dude, just give me the watch. They're not going to call the cops. They're not going to do anything. Just give me the watch. I give it back to them. Worst case scenario, they get me in jail, and you guys don't have to worry about anything. Even if I read, you got plenty of lead time to get the hell out.
And he still ended up beating up. They still beat him really hard. He gets pretty bad.
No, because he brings up the Holocaust watch. Literally everyone is on his side except the main guy.
Right, the main guy.
Like,
right.
Come on, guy. They're like, come on, it's a Holocaust watch. This is bad juju. We don't want it anyway. Just give it to him. Right. And then the one guy was just so angry with him. Starts blowing the thing.
Air horn or something.
Yeah. I would have messed up
anyone's.
Let alone someone with that kind of hearing sensitivity. That would have messed up just people with normal hearing or even bad hearing for that matter. But they do that, and then it's hard to say what
he's in the hospital. He's in the hospital.
It wasn't just the air horn. It looked like they cut away or implied they were cutting his ear off, but it was hard to say what it was
lobe,
that they did.
A little bit of his lobe, maybe they sliced it off, maybe.
Yeah, they did something.
Yeah.
But anyway, it becomes one of those things like he's in the hospital, it's all done up, but it's weird that he went through all that, and then he finally gives the guy the watch back, and then the last scene is him and his girlfriend, and then he just sits down and he can play piano now. So that's why it was such a good ending, because on its face it seems like a tragic ending, but now here he is. He had to go through all that and now he can play piano again. That's what he's always wanted to do, but he could never do it because it's too much for him. And then, but now that he got basically tortured, beat up, and they destroyed his hearing, it destroyed it in a way that now he can go back to playing piano which is what he wanted throughout the entire movie. We don't find that out till later on when him and his girlfriend go after each other. But when that revelation comes up, it made the ending interesting because it's like it's a sad ending, but it's what the main character wanted. So it's not a sad ending. It's one of those weird endings that like, not like a twist ending, but just like I guess emotionally complex would be a word for it.
Emotionally complex. Let me ask you a question, Eric. Do you think Nikki at the end of the movie, do you think he and Ruthie are together by the end after he plays her that tune? Where would you have seen? Do you think it implies that they might be together, or do you think maybe not?
Probably not, but maybe they could get back together later on.
Okay, I think they end
because I think when she found out what he was doing, that goes way against that's not within her moral parameters, I don't think. So I think maybe there's a possibility that she forgives him, but I don't know that the relationship ever goes back the same way as it was.
Do you think Nikki continues to be penniless at the end? Do you think he's going to still financially struggle now that he gave all of that money to pay for the medical debts of Harry, who has since passed?
Yeah, so there's that, but also now that he can play piano and he's doing it literally in the house with a guy that can help him out with that, I think I don't think he's tuning pianos anymore.
Oh, very good. Well, I think
he's a professional pianist from then on.
I think he's going to continue being a tuner, and he's going to be. Oh, okay. So I'm going to tell you my read. Well, after he gets out of the hospital, or while he's in the hospital, like Eric said, he is recovering. He finds that the watch, they gave him back the watch, even the bad guy, even after he beats him up. I'm assuming he gets beaten up so badly, they have to take him to the hospital. So they end up taking him to the hospital. You don't see it on the camera, but he recovers in the hospital. And when he gets his effects, he realizes that the watch that he was looking for they gave it to him. So now he can give it to the maestro. Before he leaves the hospital, Harry's wife, played by Tova Felcha, she tells him, I'm paraphrasing, she tells Nikki, whatever you're doing, please stop. This is not good, because she sees his face all beat up and everything. And then towards the end of the movie, when Harry's wife, Harry's widow, she goes to her apartment, and I think it's either a letter or a voicemail or whatever. He's telling her, please don't be mad at me. There's something in the piano, and she opens, I think the piano, or she opens something.
It was quick, but I think it was like an upright piano. She opens the lid, and the money's just
there's all this money
inside of.
So not only has he paid for the medical debt of the late Harry, but he's scoring her with a lot of money. Do you know where he got all of that money from, Eric? You're assuming from his jobs, right? You're assuming from his. Okay. There's one thing, a little thing that a lot of people might miss. Remember in the middle of the movie or towards the end of the movie that he's trying to do open a safe, and he opens this safe and everything's fine, but there's a whole bunch of people being loud.
Oh, is that what the thing where the plane keeps going overhead?
Right. No, right. The plane keeps going overhead, and the owner of that safe comes in and he's holding a gun to everybody, and he's saying, whatever you do, blah, 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 blah. And he tells Nikki, you see this piece of paper? Rip it up and put it in your mouth and eat it.
Yeah.
And that piece of paper are the cryptocurrency passwords that the owner of all that money has. That's why he's telling him to eat it, because
they kept showing him looking at it, and it wasn't like explicit, but you got the idea that, he's looking at it because he wants to remember it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So I do remember that scene. I do remember thinking that when it came through. I did not put that together until just now. So
okay.
Good job on that.
Right. So that owner of those crypto passwords, he eventually gets killed. All right. And they end up stealing all the stuff. But then Nikki remembers all of those passwords. So he goes back to his house, his apartment, and he enters all of those crypto passwords, and he sees an amount, a cryptocurrency amount from the dead owner, and it says 18 million plus. So that guy has 18 million in his crypto account. Ultimately, those same guys, including the criminals, they call on Nikki to say, hey, you need to open up this safe, because the safe will have all of that crypto information that they want. And they're telling him, come right now. And he's initially hesitant because his girlfriend, Ruthie, is having that recital or that composition piece, which is very important to her. So there's two things going on at once. That's towards the end of the movie. But ultimately, he has to go and open that safe. If not, Ruthie's life is in danger. His life is going to be in danger. So he opens up the safe for them. When he opens up the safe, they're happy because they have all of that information, that cryptocurrency information. And what's interesting...
That thing really got under my skin because just the way everyone was acting inside the... Like, here's the thing we need done. Get it done. I'm like, cool. Then shut the F up.
Shut the F up, right?
Exactly. You have one job. You have one job.
Be
Make
quiet.
it zero noise. And he's constantly doing that. We're already dealing with this plane.
Right.
And you want this open so quick. And here you are on your phone. Silence your phone. Do all this. And then just constantly screwing up. Like they're constantly just basically being annoying. And then they finally get it open. And then dude shows up and is like, hey, idiots. Had you done what you should have done from the beginning, which is shut the F up, you totally would have got away with this.
Right. So ultimately, that was the first opening. The second opening that Nikki opens is the actual cryptocurrency information. And what's interesting is now they have the full ownership of the cryptocurrency. At least they think so. But like I said, Eric, when he memorized the passwords and he went to his apartment, the cryptocurrency amount was 18 million plus. And I looked again, I rewatched it. The second time they opened up the cryptocurrency, now in the safe, the sum in that safe is not 18 million. It was 17 million. So what happened was Nikki moved some of that money. As soon as he got access to the cryptocurrency, he moved at least almost $1 million into his own account, his own. So at the end of the movie, that's how Harry's wife gets all of that money in the piano. There's all that money. That's from the money he made on that cryptocurrency transaction. Plus, we're assuming maybe Nikki left a little bit of money for himself just to live on a day-to-day basis and maybe continue life as a tuner. So isn't that pretty cool? That's another subplot of the movie. He ended up stealing close to $1 million, not exactly $1 million. I try to work it out as around $940,000 that Nikki has on his person. So he's doing pretty well at the end of the movie financially if he didn't give all that money to Harry's wife. Another thing, Eric, you're mentioning Dustin Hoffman as Harry. At the beginning of the movie, Harry is a lifelong lover of jazz. I'm a huge jazz fan as well. A couple of movie facts of Tuner. One of the first tracks on Tuner that's played is a song called Watermelon Man, and that's by Herbie Hancock. Okay? That's one of the first tunes that's played at the beginning of Tuner. Later, at Harry's funeral service, at his reception after the funeral, there's a cameo by none other than Herbie Hancock. He shows up in the party. So that's a really nice little props because I love Watermelon Man. I love Herbie Hancock. So that's a nice cameo. Second thing, even more important, is towards the beginning, Dustin Hoffman, I think they're just hanging out, eating, and he's telling Nikki, Harry's telling Nikki, Nikki, play a tune for me. And Nikki doesn't want to play. He goes, come on, you're the best, play it. And Nikki, just play something. And then Nikki will just play one note. It just plays boop. And that's just one note. And it sucks. You want Nikki to play for Harry, right? Of course, Nikki has no idea that Harry would pass away weeks later. But they cut from that scene to, I think, another scene where Harry mentions, he says, because they're at Harry's house with the wife and they're playing a song called Tenderly. It's a beautiful tune called Tenderly. And he mentions that Tenderly was the first ever, Harry mentions that his dad's favorite song was Tenderly. And he said, Tenderly was the first song I ever played to sheet music. So that's how much Harry loves that song Tenderly, because that was the first song he played to sheet music. At the funeral service, at the thing, they play that song Tenderly a little bit as well, with, I think, Ruthie on the piano playing Tenderly. At the end of the movie, the song Tenderly is played by Nikki as an ode and homage to his love for his mentor, Harry Horowitz. but he doesn't play tenderly in a soft version. He plays it like a virtuoso. So finally, at the end of Tuner, he's finally opening up to Ruthie, showing, hey, I can play. I can really play. That's one thing. But he's also playing in the honor of his late father figure, Harry. He's playing the song tenderly. So
what was the last line just before it rolls the credits?
Oh,
It said something like the E's flat or something, but like it's so fast I couldn't quite make out what it was.
That's it. No, you got it right. E flat. So he's still a tuner. He played all that song and he realizes, oh, that's flat.
Okay.
So that's a couple extra spoiler stuff. What'd you think? What'd you think of that?
I dig it.
You dig it. All right. That is our spoilers for Tuner. And tell us what you think of this movie. And yeah, please support us on CinemAddicts on our YouTube channel. We have a lot of stuff on this channel. Share, comment, subscribe. Me, Eric, and Bruce, we're doing a lot of spoilers on this channel. We're trying to reach 1,000 subs and 4,000 watch hours to get us monetized. And maybe, who knows, down the road, we might be doing some streaming stuff as well. And with Eric and Bruce at the helm, we'll see. That might be something I'll throw at Eric. Eric Holmes doesn't know this, but I'll mention that to him in a few moments. Anything you want to say before we get out of here, Eric?
I mean, I would say go watch Tuner, but if you listen to this part, you probably already have.
Yeah, so you can tune us out, or maybe just you've been tuning us out for all this time.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
Did that did it make you appreciate the movie more? Not really, because it's still 4.5 stars, right? It's all these extra.
No, that one part did go right over my head, so I'm glad you told me about that. But
yeah. That's hard. That's hard to pick up the tenderly.
I think the biggest thing was just Dustin Hoffman. I feel like that character would have worked better in a different movie.
No, I liked him because of who he was.
I liked him too. I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying tonally it fell off from the rest of the characters in the movie. We said with Speed Demon, like everyone's acting is a bit off, but they're all off at the same time. Dustin Hoffman seems off, but like everyone else is with this sort of tone, and Dustin Hoffman's over here, and they're both great. But when you put them together, like Dustin Hoffman's the one that stands out, and probably not in the way that was intended.
Well, maybe they also needed a movie tuner for this film for Tuner. Tell us what you think.
You know what?
What?
I do like Dustin Hoffman's character in this now.
Why?
He's the E flat.
There you go. Love it. All right, guys.
And it takes a certain tuner such as myself to be able to point that out.
See, don't you wish you guys were like Eric Holmes? Look at the nuance. Look at the nuance on that noggin.
5 stars.
All right,
that was the only thing holding it back. It was the code.
Are you really gonna put it? Okay. All right, guys. We'll see you here next week on CinemAddicts again. Thank you guys so much for your support.